Hello and Happy New Year! We're back with our latest episode of the Redbird Rundown, looking at Illinois State men's basketball. I'm Assistant Sports Editor Joe Deacon as host, and with me as always is beat reporter Jim Benson. Jim, did you have a nice Christmas?
Santa was real good to me, Joe.
Yeah, I bet he was. That's always good to hear. Well, since we didn't have a show last week with the Christmas holiday, the Redbirds have played 3 times in the interim. They fell at Murray State before a couple of home wins over IPFW and Quincy. Jim, what were some of the key things you saw in those 3 games?
Well, offensively, especially the last 2 games at home, they've been much smoother. Offensively, they've been pretty good all season. Paris Lee is kind of really getting into a rhythm at the point guard spot, and the offense is flowing pretty good. Defensively, they had some breakdowns against Murray State. Murray State's a good team. They are really an athletic team. Had a couple breakdowns, especially in the zone against Murray State. They played a little bit more man-to-man defense the last 2 games, and Dan Muller's kind of hinted that might be their defense coming up in the Valley season. So he's not really sure. I think you'll see a combination of zone and man-to-man defense.
They have the players who can actually pull off the man now.
Yeah, they do. They got a lot more length this year. Last year they couldn't play the man because obviously they were a really short team and all that, and they had to play zone. But they can utilize both defenses, and the man's looked pretty good here the last couple games.
Indeed. Well, while the Redbirds have won 5 of their last 6 now, they are dealing with a few injuries. Deontay Hawkins has been out with a stress reaction. Obviously, Kuhn Purcell had gotten hurt. And now Reggie Lynch missed the last game against Quincy with a bad back. What are they going to have to do with these injuries?
Well, Devon's going to be out a while here with his broken hand. He had surgery on it. I would say mid-January would probably be the earliest he'd be back, more probably like late January. The good thing about that, Dan Muller told me earlier today, is that they've been able to rest his shins a little bit. He had a lot of shin splints, and so that helps in that factor. Deontay Teddy has that stress reaction in his foot. He's been wearing a boot for about the last 2 weeks. He's kind of day-to-day. I don't think we'll know until each game whether he's going to play or not. And Reggie's been dealing with a back issue. I remember after the DePaul game, Reggie told me he got kind of hit in the back, and it's been just kind of getting worse and worse. And he looked pretty ginger walking on the sidelines the other night against Quincy. So we'll have to see how much they're going to get out of him here this first week of the season.
Yeah, and so if Reggie's out, I mean, do you look to Will Ransom to pick up more minutes?
No, John Jones and Ransom was basically split. John Jones, he gives them a little bit more of offensive capability than Will's more of a defensive player, kind of a garbage kind of guy on offense.
Mm-hmm. So ISU now brings an 8-4 record into Missouri Valley Conference play, beginning with Wednesday afternoon's home game against Indiana State, ahead of a Sunday visit to number 16 Wichita State. The Sycamores are coming to Redbird Arena at 4-8, and they haven't beaten a Division I team since November 24th.
They are really struggling without Jake Odom. Jake was a 4-year starter at point guard. Wichita State lost Clay Anthony early, but they had other pieces. Indiana State has a lot of guys back from last year, but without Jake, they've really struggled to find consistent play at point guard. And if you're a little inconsistent at point guard, it just spreads to the rest of the team. But they're a dangerous team. They're going to sneak up and beat some people in the Valley season. Yeah,
and while the Redbirds, they can't look past Indiana State, definitely shouldn't, but we certainly can. The Sunday game against the league favorite Shockers, they've got Fred Van Vliet and Darius Carter, Ron Baker leading the offense. This is going to be the first chance to validate Coach Muller's preseason first place vote for his Redbirds.
Yeah, it's too bad that ISU isn't completely healthy for this game. That's just the way the seasons go, and next man up kind of philosophy. But Dan Muller's vote wasn't for ISU to be the number 1 team on January 4th. His vote was to be the number 1 team on March 7th in St. Louis. So if ISU get completely healthy, I think, and especially maybe the February 14th game against Wichita at Redbird Arena, I think that'll be more of an indicator of how the teams stack up against each other.
What have you seen from the Shockers so far this season in the games you've been able to watch?
Yeah, they've kind of struggled. They really missed Clay Anthony early. He's playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
If you lose a guy who's playing in the NBA, that's a big piece. The defense is still great for Wichita State. I mean, their defense is solid. Offensively, they struggled a little bit. They squeaked by a couple games, but then they've lost a couple here. They're beatable. I think it's going to be between them and UNI for the conference title. And then I think UNI might even be a slight favorite right now. UNI is really playing well.
Yeah. Well, ISU is going to come back home for its 3rd Valley game next Wednesday against Drake before our next show. So it's a little early to take close to the Bulldogs, but what type of squad will former Redbird 8 Ray Giacoletti be bringing in here?
Yeah, Ray even said, I mean, they're in rebuilding mode. They didn't try to bring in a lot of JUCOs or anything like that. They're in complete rebuilding mode. They have a couple seniors. Gary Ricks is a good senior guard, but they're playing a couple freshmen. Reed Timmer, freshman guard, he's averaging about 11.2 points a game. I believe he's the highest scoring freshman in the Valley. They're a team that likes it to shoot from the outside. They don't have a lot of size, but if they get hot from the outside, then they can beat anybody. But they've definitely struggled. But Ray knew they were going to struggle this year. He's fine with that.
So it's first 3 games of the Valley. ISU is obviously going to be looking to get a nice start to the conference play and see what kind of run they can get on.
The formula to win the Valley or any league is to win your home games and try to sneak out a couple on the road. So ISU kind of needs to win these home games, especially this one here Wednesday. This is a huge game. They can't, against a struggling team, you can't really kind of lose that game and then have to go to Wichita State. So, and then they play Drake at home. So if they can get off the 2-1 start at least and maybe give Wichita State a ball game, it'd be a decent start.
Yeah, that would be indeed. Well, as a reminder, Jim will hold pregame chats here at Pantagraph.com before every game, and you can also get in-game updates by following him on Twitter. Jim, what's your Twitter handle again?
Capital P-G _ capital BENSON.
All right, and then be sure to get a copy of the Pantagraph every day, or visit the website for all of Jim's coverage of the Redbirds. Thanks again for watching.